Welcome to the Cheating Secrets channel. It was our Friday date night. We try to do this at least once a week, and I think we're managing to keep up with that average. We were at one of our favorite places, a Mexican bar restaurant. They had a really beautiful open courtyard, and the weather was perfect, cool but not cold, with a slight breeze. We struck up a conversation with the guy at the next table. It was just one of those things that happen. He was alone but seemed pretty friendly. He said his name was John. We chatted with him about our future plans and how, once we save enough, we'll be able to make a down payment on a house. If everything continues as it is now, in about a year or so, we'll have enough money. That was stage 1 of the plan. Stage 2 is building equity. Stage 3 is the big house. Stage 4 is kids. We were young, and we had time. We means me, Jack Andrews, and my wife, Jill. Save your jokes. We've heard them all. We even have an entire shelf in our apartment dedicated to Jack and Jill-themed souvenirs from well-meaning friends and family members. We got married 2 years ago and have been living in marital bliss ever since. All we had at the moment was our one-bedroom love nest, but it was ours. We didn't have the newest cars, but they were reliable and, more importantly, paid off. We didn't have the biggest TV, but it worked well enough for us. Our furniture wasn't the newest or the fanciest, but it was clean and well made. I had just made a comment along the lines of, "So, if everything goes well, we should be able to start putting buns in the oven in about 5 years or so." John responded, "Maybe I can help speed up that timeline." "How's that?" "A few years ago, I got really lucky in business. I'm in a position to offer you a very good deal." "And what kind of deal would that be?" Before I answer that, Google me. John Albright. That should confirm my credentials. Jill took out her phone and looked him up. "You have your own Wikipedia page. Holy crap. It says your net worth is..." "That's probably outdated. I'm currently close to $10 billion. "Okay, so, what's the deal?" "Even though we just met, I like you guys, and I want to help you. So, I'm going to give you $1 million. That's after taxes, so the actual amount will be $1.4 million. But there's something I want in return." I waited for the other shoe to drop. "I want Jill for the weekend." I was stunned. "What? Are you serious?" I looked at Jill. I can only assume that the expression of shocked disbelief on her face mirrored my own. "Get lost, jerk. Go back to your table and leave us alone. This is a serious offer." She leaves her phone and purse behind and goes with me. "I'll return her by 6 p.m. on Sunday and transfer the money to your account in the meantime. While she's with me, she'll do whatever I want. I promise I won't harm her or leave any marks on her." "Screw you." My answer is a no. "I'll go stand by the door and wait for 5 minutes while you two discuss it. If she doesn't join me by then, I'll leave and you'll never see me again." He got up and walked to the exit, leaning against the wall. Holy crap. Can you believe the arrogance of this guy? No, I can't. I know the rich live differently, but this is a whole other level of entitlement. She paused. "But $1 million wouldn't be bad. I mean, we could skip straight to stage 4, buy a house outright, fund our kids' college, and still have enough left to invest. We could retire by 40. Just don't tell me you're actually considering this option." "Of course not. I'm just saying it would be nice." I looked at her. "Good. Because if you did, it would destroy us." "Don't be ridiculous. I would never do anything that could harm our relationship." I looked at her again. I saw that John was watching us. He tapped his finger on his wristwatch. "Well, I don't feel like staying here anymore. Let's go home and watch a movie or something." "Okay. Keep an eye on my things. I really need to go to the restroom." I watched as she headed toward the restrooms. She stopped to say something to John, no doubt to tell him off once more. Suddenly, they both walked out the door together. I felt my heart clench for a second, and then I bolted from my seat and ran outside. I saw her getting into a Mercedes. Just as she was about to close the door, I shouted her name. "Jill, don't do this." She looked at me, mouthed the word sorry, and then closed the door. The car pulled out of the parking lot. I started running after it, thinking I could somehow jump on it or something, when suddenly I was grabbed from behind. I turned around and saw one of the largest men I'd ever seen holding me by the shoulders. "Let me go. That's my wife." "Sorry, buddy, but Mr. Albright doesn't want any trouble." I watched as the car sped out of the parking lot and drove away at high speed. I tried to break free and follow them, but I couldn't. His grip was like iron. I stared as the taillights disappeared into the distance, just like my marriage. "If I let you go, are you going to do something stupid?" I should note that she wasn't coerced in any way. I looked at him. "What would you do if it were your wife?" "I'd beat the crap out of him, of course. That's why he sent me here, to hold you back a bit. But now they've left, so I'm letting you go." I stood there for a moment. The bodyguard waited, then got into his car and drove off. "Jill. Okay, keep an eye on my things. I really need to go to the restroom." I hated deceiving him, but I knew he would never agree. I headed toward the restrooms, but stopped when I reached John. "Let's go before I change my mind and before Jack makes a scene." John turned and walked out the door. I followed him. A Mercedes was waiting right outside. John got into the driver's seat. I opened the passenger door, but just as I was about to get in, I heard Jack shout, "Jill, don't do this." His face was a mix of surprise and hurt. I paused for a second, then said, "Sorry," got into the car, and closed the door. It hurt to know I was causing him pain, but I was doing this for us. John immediately sped off. "Don't worry," he said. "He'll get over it." I hope so. I tried to push thoughts of Jack out of my mind. "So, where are we going?" "I have a house out of town. We'll spend the weekend there." The rest of the drive was silent. We drove for about an hour, heading out of the city. Soon, we turned off the main highway and started down a series of narrow country roads. Eventually, we arrived at a gate. John pressed a button on a remote control and the gate opened. We drove for about a minute along a gravel driveway and then pulled up to a rather large stone house. It was 2 stories high and looked like it had been standing there for a very long time. We parked the car near the entrance. "This used to be a hunting lodge. I bought it along with the surrounding land a few years ago and made some improvements," John said. "Come inside." The interior was quite rustic. The door led into a foyer that connected to a large study. We walked into the kitchen. John opened a door to another short corridor that reminded me of a hotel hallway. This impression was reinforced when John opened the first door on the right and stepped inside. "This is where you'll be staying," he said. "These are the quarters for the kitchen staff and other service personnel." It was a small, windowless room made of cinder blocks painted a dingy white. The room contained a bed, a dresser, and a writing desk. The bed was just a bare mattress. Against the wall was an open closet, which was empty. Next to the closet was a bathroom. John opened the top drawer of the dresser and pulled out a folded piece of fabric. "I want you to go into the bathroom, take off all your clothes, and put this on. Everything, including your underwear and shoes." He handed me the bundle. I looked at him. He made a motion with his hand, signaling me to go into the bathroom, so I went in and closed the door. The bundle wasn't made of fabric. It was some kind of opaque white plastic, possibly Tyvek. It looked like a jumpsuit, except it was completely form-fitting, with mittens built into the sleeves and booties on the feet. Okay, that was strange, but whatever. I undressed and then put on the jumpsuit. There was a zipper in the front. I zipped it up to my chest and then stepped out. "Do you like it?" John approached, grabbed the zipper, and pulled it up to my neck. "There, that's better." Then he went into the bathroom and gathered all my clothes. "You'll get your clean clothes back on Sunday before you leave. There are more bunny suits in the dresser if you need to change. They're disposable. Just throw them in the trash when you take them off. The dresser also has sheets and a blanket." He stepped closer to me, invading my personal space. "Are you ready for your first?" He smiled. "Assignment?" I nodded, dreading what might come next. "Clean this room and the bathroom. It's been a few months, and this place isn't in the best shape." "What?" "Clean the room. There are cleaning supplies in the bathroom cabinet and a broom in the closet." I expect the floors to be clean enough to eat off of. Do you understand? You want me to clean the room? And that's it? Yes, that's all for now. When you're done, you can make the bed and go to sleep. If you get hungry later, there are sandwiches in the kitchen. I stared at him. Come on, chop chop, time's wasting, get to it. Then he turned and left, taking my clothes with him and closing the door behind him. What else could I do? I started cleaning the bathroom. There were dried stains on the toilet. A black ring circled the tub. The light fixtures were covered in water spots. Mold clung to the sides of the tub. It took me about an hour to clean the bathroom. Fortunately, the room itself wasn't too bad. I just needed to dust the table and dresser, sweep the floor, and then mop it. The place was sparkling. When I finished, I made the bed. I was more exhausted than I realized. As soon as I was done, I took a shower, then crawled into bed naked and fell asleep. The next thing I remember is being woken up by a knock on the door. Wake up. Get dressed. Let's go. Now we're getting down to business. At first, I was confused, then I remembered. I was at John's place. Okay, I'll be out in a minute. I looked into the dresser. There were several dozen bunny suits. I grabbed one and put it on, making sure to zip it up all the way. To the kitchen, John said. He was sitting at the table. Make us breakfast. Can you cook an omelet? Yes. Go ahead. The pantry and fridge were stocked with plenty of ingredients, so I made a couple of omelets. Lots of cheese, bell peppers, mushrooms, and a bit of ham. I plated the omelets, then placed one in front of John and sat at the end of the table to eat mine. Looks delicious, he said, and started eating. We finished the meal in silence. When he was done, he said, clean up here. When you're finished, join me outside. And then he left. To say I was puzzled would be an understatement. I expected to be treated like some sort of sex slave, not a kitchen maid. But whatever. The longer I could delay breaking my wedding vows, the better. I loaded the plates and silverware into the dishwasher and cleaned the frying pan by hand. Once I was done, I walked out through the front door. John was sitting in an Adirondack chair, one of two on the patio, with a small table between them. Good, you didn't waste any time. See that? He pointed to something that looked like a handle with wheels. I realized it was a real lawnmower. Then he gestured to the expansive yard. Mow the lawn. Wait a second, I replied. I thought I was here to, You agreed to do whatever I wanted in exchange for a rather generous compensation. What I want you to do right now is mow the lawn. If you don't want to stick to our agreement, you can leave at any time and forfeit the compensation. The gate is that way. He pointed to the driveway. Either you mow the lawn or you leave. Your choice. I glared at him. I had mowed lawns before, but always with a power mower. I grabbed the mower, moved it onto the grass, and started mowing. The lawn must have been at least half an acre, maybe more. Fortunately, it wasn't too overgrown. I pushed that thing all the way to the far edge, then turned back. For the next few hours, I steadily mowed, taking breaks only to drink water and eat lunch, which I had to prepare myself. Every half hour or so, John would come out to check on my progress, then go back inside. By the time the sun began to set, I was hot, sweaty, and tired, but I had finished the job. The bunny suit felt like a portable sauna. I had unzipped it down to my navel a long time ago. I wheeled the lawnmower back to the front door, where John was waiting. Good job. Go take a shower and change into a new bunny suit. When you're done, head to the kitchen and make dinner. There are steaks in the fridge. I like mine medium. He started to head back inside, then stopped. Oh, and zip up. You look indecent. I looked down and noticed that one of my breasts was peeking out of the suit. I had no idea how long it had been exposed. I zipped up and trudged back to my room. After showering, I put on a new bunny suit and went to the kitchen. It was empty. I checked the fridge and found 2 steaks that hadn't been there that morning. I also saw some mushrooms and vegetables in the drawer, but forget that. He said steak, so that's all I was going to prepare. I heated up the oven. When the steaks were ready, I poked my head into the study and called out, "Dinner's ready." I took out his steak and placed it on the table, then sat down to eat mine. A minute later, John sat down and ate his steak without any comments. When he finished, he told me that after I finished cleaning the kitchen, I could go to bed. So I did. I took off the costume, climbed into bed, and quickly fell asleep. The next morning, I was awakened again by a knock on the door. "Get up and get to work. It's your last day." I got up and put on a fresh bunny costume. John was waiting in the kitchen. "Make breakfast again, the same as yesterday." Breakfast and cleaning the kitchen went by in silence. When I finished and turned on the dishwasher, John directed me to the room next to my bedroom. It was just like my bedroom, but completely empty. "I want you to paint this room." "What?" "Paint the room. There are paints, rollers, brushes, and a change of clothes in the closet. Just this room. Do a good job, and this will be your last task for the weekend. And don't paint over the light switches and outlets. Remove the covers and replace them when you're done." I looked at him in disbelief. "Paint the room? Are you joking? Are you paying me for maintenance? And that's all?" "For now, yes. But get to work. You don't have much time." Then he walked out. I stood there for a second, then looked into the closet. There was a 5-gallon bucket of sky blue paint and a bunch of tools and supplies. I grabbed a drop cloth and spread it out on the floor. I found a screwdriver and removed the outlet and switch covers, then taped over the outlets and switches themselves. I poured some paint into the roller and got to work. It didn't take as long as I thought it would. The room wasn't that big, and there weren't any tricky areas that needed special attention. When I finished, I put the outlet covers back on, folded up the drop cloth, and returned all the supplies to the closet. He said it was my last task, so I went to the next room and took a shower. When I finished, I found that my clothes had been cleaned and laid out on the bed. I got dressed and went to look for John. He was in the study. "Ah, there you are. I assume you finished painting?" "Yes. You said that was my last task?" "That's right. Are you ready to go back to your husband now? You should know that he was very upset when you left." "I know. I'll make it up to him." I felt a sudden surge of guilt. My dear husband didn't deserve what I did to him that night. He's probably going crazy, imagining all sorts of things. My guilt intensified when I realized that this was the first time I had thought about him all weekend. The car should be here by now. He walked out the front door, and I followed him. As we stood there, a Mercedes pulled up. The bodyguard from the restaurant was driving. "Hop in. He'll take you home. The money will be in your account by the time you get there." I opened the door, but before getting in, I turned to him and asked, "So what was the deal with all these tasks? I thought you wanted a sex slave or something like that." "Don't be ridiculous. You're an average, fairly attractive woman, but with a snap of my fingers, I could get women far out of your league, and for much less than $1 million. This was more of a social experiment. Could I make an average married woman leave with me right in front of her husband? How long would it take?" I looked at him in disbelief. Without replying, I got into the car and closed the door. The bodyguard drove me home in silence. Not a word was spoken. When we arrived at the apartment, I got out of the car. He drove away. I walked up to the door and unlocked it. I was relieved that my key still worked. "Jack? Honey? I'm back. Where are you?" "Jack." I looked at the bodyguard. "What would you do if it were your wife?" "I'd beat the crap out of him, of course. That's why he sent me here, to hold you back for a bit. But now they're gone, so I'm letting you go." I stood there for a second. The bodyguard waited for me to do something, then got into his car and drove off. "Hey, Jack. If you're leaving, you need to pay your bill first." It was Mike, the restaurant manager. Over the time we'd been coming here, we had gotten to know many of the staff. "Damn it. Didn't you see what just happened? My wife just left me. And you're worried about the bill? Wow. Don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. I'm sorry. I never would have thought she'd do something like that." "Yeah, neither did I." Mike handed me her purse. She left this on the table. Her phone was in the side pocket of the purse. "Thanks. I'm not sure what the hell I'm going to do now." "Don't do anything too stupid. Go home. Think it over." "Good idea." I don't remember how I got home. As soon as I closed the front door, everything hit me all at once. My wife was gone. My marriage had collapsed. All the dreams and hopes we had were gone. I collapsed onto the couch and stared at the ceiling. All I could think was, she's gone. I don't know how long I stayed like that. I must have fallen asleep at some point because when I opened my eyes, it was morning. At first, I was confused about why I was on the couch, but then the memories came flooding back. The despair hit me again, just as hard. Then something else hit, anger. How dare she do this to us? She threw everything we had away for money. I pushed the anger down and buried the despair deep inside. Act now, hurt later. After this, there's no way we can stay together. On Monday, I needed to meet with a lawyer, but even now, there were some things I could do. I had time until Sunday evening. First, finances. I paid off our joint credit card and then canceled it. Next, the bank. I opened a new account in my name, transferring half of the savings account into it, minus $2,000. I took that $2,000 in cash because I would need it. I also transferred half of the checking account. Second, I needed a new place to live. I called my friend Pete. Pete had a lot of friends because he had a pickup truck. People always turned to him for help with moving. I told him what had happened. She did what? Left? Just because some rich jerk waved a bunch of money in front of her? Damn, that's cold. I can't believe she could do that. Believe me, I'm still in shock. I need to find a place to stay and get my stuff out of the apartment before she comes back on Sunday. I'm thinking about that extended stay motel near the office. No way. You can stay with me. How much stuff do you need to move? Actually, not that much. Clothes, a few books, and some other things. I don't care about the furniture. All right, pack up. I'll grab some boxes and be at your place as soon as I can. I packed a week's worth of clothes into a duffel bag. The rest went into trash bags. Pete showed up with some boxes, and we filled them with books and a few other odds and ends. I didn't care about anything in the kitchen. Silverware is cheap. All my things were packed into Pete's truck or my car. I looked around the apartment to make sure I had everything. I saw a photo of Jill and me at our wedding. It used to be one of my favorite pictures of us. Used to be. I decided to be petty. I took the photo out of the frame, tore it in half, and placed the pieces on the coffee table next to Jill's purse. Then I took off my wedding ring and set it on top. I thought for a second and decided to be extremely petty. We had a fireplace and a couple of logs for the fire. I took our wedding album from the shelf, opened it in the middle, placed it over a log in the fireplace, and set it on fire. Then I followed Pete to his place. That evening, I wasn't very good company, but I wasn't trying to be. I know I watched a bunch of TV shows, but I don't remember any of them. All I could think about was that my wife had left me to sleep with a billionaire for money. Eventually, I took a dose of NyQuil and fell asleep. I woke up late on Sunday. Physically, I felt better, but emotionally, I was a wreck. Pete kept trying to engage me in conversation, but I just wasn't feeling it. I thought about drinking, but I knew it wouldn't solve anything. Eventually, my phone rang. I saw that it was Jill calling, and I sent it to voicemail. I didn't want to talk to her at all. Then she sent me a message. I'm back. Please call me. We need to talk. Nothing happened. Nothing. Yeah, right. And even if that were true, it didn't matter. She left me, willing to do anything. Then I remembered something. I turned on my laptop. Jill. He wasn't in the living room. I went to the bedroom. He wasn't there either. Then I saw the open closet. His things were gone. No. He left. I ran back to the living room and searched for a note or something else. Then I saw the coffee table and collapsed onto the couch. There was our wedding photo, torn in half, with Jack's wedding ring on top. I don't know how long I sat there like that. It could have been a minute or maybe an hour. Then I realized I had to find Jack. I had to tell him that nothing happened. I grabbed my phone and called him. The call went straight to voicemail. I left a message. Jack, honey, where are you? Please call me. We need to talk. I love you. Then I sent him a message. I'm back. Please call me. We need to talk. Nothing happened. Nothing. I looked around the room. Some of the bookshelves were empty. He took his books. He moved out. Then I saw the fireplace. It looked like, no, our wedding album. It was half burned. No, this can't be happening. I have to talk to him. Jack. Then I remembered something. I turned on my laptop. I logged into the bank's website and checked our joint account. A new deposit of $1.4 million had been made into the savings account. I transferred $700,000 into my new account and logged out. If my marriage was ruined over money, I'd get my half. They looked at each other across the conference table in the lawyer's office. The attorneys had just stepped out, leaving them to talk alone. Jill, you said you'd sign the divorce papers if I talked to you. Here I am. Talk. This was the first time they had spoken to each other since that night at the restaurant. Jack, I don't want a divorce. Nothing happened. All he made me do was housework. I painted the walls in a room. I cleaned the bathroom. I mowed the lawn. I didn't do anything else. I didn't do anything remotely sexual. I didn't break my vows. You don't understand. You left me at the restaurant, thinking you were going to sleep with him. It doesn't matter whether you actually slept with him or not. You left me there with the intention of having sex with him. That's all that matters. I understand. You're right. I can never fully make up for what I've done to you. But I have to ask, please, let me try. I love you. We can get through this. I know we can. Love isn't the problem. Despite everything, I still love you. Jill looked at him hopefully. But, he continued, I can't trust you anymore. Who's to say you won't make another important unilateral decision in the future? I mean, if you agreed to sleep with a guy for money, what else might you do if you think it's for our benefit? I'm sorry, Jill, but I can't get past this. Please, sign the papers. It's a 50-50th split. I took everything I wanted from the apartment and have already taken half of the money. Sign them, and we're done. With that, Jack stood up and walked out. Jill sat silently for a while. Then she grabbed a pen and signed the papers in front of her. Thank you for listening until the end. See you in the next episode of Cheating Secrets. Take care of yourself and your loved ones. Goodbye.